We now turn our attention to the epical news of yesterday. I confess I wasn't quite aware of what was about to happen, but here in Georgia, as the moment neared, shout out to Shay Kelsey, Spelmanite, who was like, "Yeah, y'all got to turn on the Beyonce Bowl." What? The what? What? Okay, all right. So the hive's not coming for me. Beyonce's halftime performance yesterday at NRG Stadium on Christmas Day during the Houston Texans versus Baltimore Ravens game was met apparently with mixed reaction. The 32-time Grammy-winning artist began the performance by singing 16 Carriages from her studio album, Cowboy Carter, while riding a white horse into the stadium. I guess we're going to talk about that horse and colors and old Denzel Washington movies. I'm sure we're going to get into all that in a moment. Her performance again brought up the discussion about what country music is. Tasha Love is here to help us. Tasha is a music industry insider. She's joining us from the ATL to discuss the impact, importance of, and why folks, at least some folks, apparently are so mad about Beyonce's performance. Sister Love, welcome to Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Hello, thank you for having me. I appreciate being here.
No, it's a great pleasure. Listen, we need to hear your voice right now. Could you walk us a little bit through both the performance last night, and maybe put it into context and give us some of your thoughts about what we all witnessed last night?
Well, quite honestly, we witness history, right? Depending upon who you ask, let me say that. In 2013, Beyonce performed at the Super Bowl to 110 million viewers. In 2016, she performed with Coldplay and Bruno Mars to 115.5 million viewers. And last night, during that Christmas halftime show, which wasn't even the Super Bowl, had viewers from 200 countries. The performance viewers, the numbers spiked right before Beyonce came on. Everybody turned off after the game, aside, of course, from the viewers that were actually there for the game. But I think I'd be pretty hard pressed to find out who was actually playing. I ran from the kitchen with so many other of my family members, probably like you. You were like, Beyonce Bowl, what is that?
Oh, yeah, wait, yeah, right.
Depending upon who you ask, nobody even watched or knew what was happening during the game until B hit the stage. I mean, she's the queen bee, and I think that needs to be respected. 200 countries last night. There were people live streaming their performances from Thailand, from Japan, from Switzerland. Beyonce ruled the night hands down.
Okay, well, I tell you, yeah, and I haven't watched a down of the NFL. I will probably die without seeing another down since Kaepernick. I understand there's a phenomenal quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens named Lamar Jackson. I've never seen him take a snap, probably never will. But as you said, everybody's running from their plates, they run in to watch this thing.
Yeah.
So the phenomenon is uncontested. I'm wondering if you have any thoughts about this in the larger context. I mean, we've all heard about the Lil Wayne so-called controversy, and Kendrick Lamar performing in New Orleans. And we know that Shawn Carter is involved in the planning of Super Bowl halftimes. I'm wondering if you have any thoughts about maybe the chess, not checkers. I've heard that bandied about in the last 24 hours, moves about that Miss Carter, that the Beyonce knows Carter is engaged in. Because could you put this in a conversation with what's going to happen in the Super Bowl in 2025? I mean, where does this fit relative to that? I mean, is there a larger strategy at play? Any thoughts on what's going on, even in terms of what she's trying to accomplish in this moment relative to this larger complex of sports and entertainment in this country?
Oh, great question. I think that anything with Beyonce knows Carter, Shawn Carter, Blue Ivy Carter, I think we're looking at a dynasty here. And I don't think that it's fair for us to pigeonhole her to just being an R&B artist. She's from Houston. You think that she didn't dream of performing in Houston from day one since she first hit the stage, or when Matthew Knowles had her and the rest of her bandmates running around in heels? I think we really need to look at the larger scale here and see. She used to perform in high school talent shows. Let's take it back even before then. Okay, she was performing at talent shows, period, across the Texas area as a young preteen. Then she goes and she starts performing at talent shows, and then we all know Star Search, right? I used to watch Star Search when I was a kid. But now, look, now she's performing in her hometown at the Christmas halftime, at the biggest game ever, aside from the Super Bowl, we're talking again 200 countries, millions of viewers, millions worldwide. Do I think there's a bigger game here that's taking place? Absolutely. There's a strategy here. For the 2025 Super Bowl, we know that Kendrick Lamar is performing. After what Beyonce did last night with that drum line, the speculation is that now Kendrick can't come with a band, right? Because Beyonce took that drum line there. But is there a bigger strategy? Yes. We know that Netflix is now going to be releasing just her performance alone on their streaming platform. They of course are not going to rebroadcast the game. They don't want to see the game. We want to see Beyonce, right? The bigger strategy here is that on January 14th, there's something else coming. I've heard rumors of a possible tour slated from little hints that she was dropping through the previous tour. We just really have to wait and see. But I think that the bigger picture here is that definitely there's more to come. I can't pigeonhole her to what her husband has done. She wasn't there. She married somebody who is equally as big. They did a song about it. It's called Bonnie and Clyde and Let Me Upgrade You. So we already know that something else is coming from the Carters.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not one of those people who likes to engage in a lot of make believe, and neither
I'm
one
with
of
you.
them are in it. Neither one of them are NFL owners, and
Right.
so I mean, to the degree that they are performers, albeit rich ones. I mean, I think
Right.
you're raising something that is very important for us to consider, and certainly a lot of people are talking about the symbolism, and we certainly want to get into that in terms
Yeah.
of the show and everything was about. Shout out, by the way, to Texas Southern, the Ocean of Soul, making their second appearance in a major Beyonce platform. So it's good to
Right.
see that HBCU band culture, no question.
Right.
Um, you raised several things, and of course, my sister, and of course, Roland is from down there, Houston, Third Ward out there, Jack Yates High School. Think about the Shape Center there in Houston, where, like I say, when she was a little girl, girls' time, they still had her picture on the wall down
Right.
there. And, I don't think it gets any blacker in terms of her roots. I was recently in New York at a new exhibit at the Met called Flight into Egypt, which looks at African Americans and how we've engaged in this kind of study of ancient Egypt over the arc of basically 150 years. And Solange, her sister, has in the exhibit catalog a photograph of their parents on the Nile, and her father and mother are dressed in Egyptian attire. I mean, there's all of this deep grounding in Black history and culture flowing through the veins of both of those sisters.
Yeah.
And any thoughts on how Beyonce may be kind of wielding this immersion, this surrounding immersion she's had from the beginning in Black culture as a kind of point of entry to push back against an industry that not only has not always been welcoming, but that is this billion-dollar behemoth. I
Right.
mean, from what I understand, between Amazon Prime streaming a football game and Netflix doing one with no commercial interruptions, there seems to be this whole shift that has nothing to do with us as anything other than entertainment, but she seems hell-bent on not allowing this thing to roll over us without us gaining some point of entry to try to push back. Any thoughts about how she's using her culture as a weapon in this moment?
Yes. It's so hard for me to just sit here and be still and not nod to everything that you're saying. I know how passionate you are personally about our culture. I've watched you for the longest time,
Oh,
and,
okay.
and it bleeds through. So yes, absolutely. There's so much symbolism that happened last night from Beyonce. Her red carpet was the American flag. Did anybody peep that? I mean, she rode in on she rode in on the Lipizzere horse, which is a horse that starts out when it's first born. It's a black horse that is either born black or dark gray, but then turns pure white, which is used to pull carriages and perform. It's a stallion, and I think that I've heard some rumblings go on TikTok. There's a variety of conspiracies that talk about how this symbolism here could either be the white horse. You remember that song that happened back in the 70s, right? The
Oh,
White Horse.
yes.
That's a whole nother
Yes.
conversation. I don't know about that message, but I can certainly see where the horse turning from black to white was the whitewashing of country music. That theory's been floated around. I personally like that and believe that, and I think it falls right in line with her stance as to how the CMAs denied her this year with zero nods. But here she comes in riding on that horse, and she snags 11 Grammy nominations, 5 of which are in the CMA American Roots category. And it puts her at just one nomination shy of being at 100 Grammy nominations throughout her career. She's younger than me. I mean, what a young amazing artist that we've watched grow from, like you said, from when she was in Girls Time to just being a star that is consistently being denied by not only some of her culture, her own culture, but of course the white community. Just because she came out with a country album from her own, this is from her roots. Okay, we have to really pay attention to how country music is trying to close the door on such a prolific artist in the music industry. And so here she comes with the flag and all, riding in on a white horse with a giant middle finger up, and I'm not mad at her for that.
No, I ain't mad at her either. In fact, that last thing, when that red, white, and blue phallic symbol unfurled from between her legs and hit the ground, I'm like, oh no, oh, you're not playing.
No.
Okay, I said,
she knows her history. She knows her history, and she's letting it be known that she knows her history. And not only that, she wants other people to know the history. You know, right now the controversy is, and I don't know if you were going to touch on this really quickly, but, you know, people are talking about the finger guns that she did. There is an autographed picture that Dolly Parton has that is up for auction right now, where she's done the same gesture with the gun pistols. That is right now up for auction for over close to $1,000. And that is just because I don't think people really know about it. But Beyonce's not the first. But no. What she is saying is that I will not be the last Black artist that does country music. I'm not even the first. I'm just showing you how many of us are out there.
Absolutely. No, we're going to touch on that in a moment. And so I'm going to ask Reese to jump in. Reese, any thoughts about what we saw and any thoughts of conversation for Sister Tasha?
Of course I have thoughts. I mean, the Beyonce Bowl was absolutely sensational, spectacular, magnificent. It was like a love letter to Black America. I was like, this is how I would have felt if Kamala Harris had won. We would have had our little Black girl magic moment. We would have been like, yeah, we running shit. So I absolutely loved every single moment of it. I mean, she gave every emotion. And I loved that Black women were able to be centered with the Blackbird quartet, that she highlighted Black women country music artists. She highlighted Black men country artists, and she just owned a whole ass stadium. And so it gave everything. It gave more. You know, you always think that it's going to be hyped up, overhyped, and then she delivers even beyond anybody's wildest expectations. But I just want to take a moment to say, can we normalize not giving a fuck about what racist white people are triggered by? Like, at the end of the day, Beyonce is that girl. She doesn't have to ask permission from the Country Music Awards funky ass or anybody else to get out there and perform the Cowboy Carter, perform country music, reclaim it for Black people. She can do that shit because she's Beyonce. And if you're mad about it, you're going to have to stay mad about it, because you can get Trump, but you cannot get Beyonce, okay? We had a dance party with Beyonce and we loved every moment of it. Netflix is very smart for putting it on, because I will be restreaming it with my sound bar blasting next time. And if you don't like Beyonce, who cares? She's been famous for 30-something years. There are no more cookies left for people who like Rihanna or Mariah or whoever, Taylor Swift, more than Beyonce, because she is and has proven that she is one of the greatest entertainers of all time. So that's my comment. Now for my question for Miss Tasha.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us a little bit about some of the special guests she had in the audience? I mean, in the show, we know that she had Blue Ivy, but there are also other people that she kind of gave a platform to, like the first Black rodeo queen and others. So can you just shed a little bit of light about some of the special guests throughout the show that she highlighted?
Sure. First of all, I 100% agree with everything that you just said. And then, too, I think, the one thing about Beyonce is that, especially that she does, that I especially love, is that she will recognize those that have come before her. Now, we all know the theories of, oh, she bit this person, oh, she took this style, or she canceled this artist. So, she just corners the market. But one thing that she did here, she was extremely smart. Some of the artists that she featured was one, Shabuzi. Shabuzi is #1 right now in the country music charts. Let's just keep this 100. When Beyonce put Shabuzi on the album and she highlighted him, there were certainly rumblings. His music really was getting on the charts. But once Beyonce featured him, I don't want to take anything away from his talent, but he did shoot to #1, because now not only are there white country music artists just listening to him, now you have Black rappers listening to Shabuzi. It wouldn't surprise me if Lil Wayne would have an album with Shabuzi. So I think that we really need to pay homage to that. Certainly, she featured the banjo solo. The artist was not there that actually did that, but there was Tierra. There was Post Malone. While Post Malone is white, he's still on the chart. And in fact, he's #2 on the chart. So what Beyonce's really doing is she's crossing these boundaries by saying, listen, I'm not really trying to acknowledge color here in the country music, but if you want to go there, okay, I can cross back over into another genre and make it #1. And I think that that's what is really, really important here. Not only that, but she featured, again, just the drum line. The drum line to me was impressive because I went to Morris Brown College.
No question.
You want to talk about a drum line? We got it for you. I mean,
come on,
and everything. But before I came from New York, I was not aware of the drum line. And then, of course, I get to Morris Brown, where the movie Drumline is shot. There's no bounds to what she's done. And then if we're going to talk nepotism, and if Trump could do it, Beyonce could do it. I'm not mad at Blue Ivy standing there next to her mother on the biggest platform, the biggest stage, acknowledging that she is Texas bred. She's born there. I can't wait to go back to White Plains and do a performance in the middle of the square where I'm from, or go back to my high school and say, hey, I'm broadcasting from my high school. This is where I'm from. But I think we need to acknowledge that she was born there and she took it all the way back. And not only did she take it back, but she brought these other artists with her. And the women that did Blackbird all are historic within their own right. They all have their own music, their own albums. And, Beyonce, whether the CMAs allows her to or not, she's still going to get the country music sales. So you can keep your little award. That's not what we after anyway. It's really the sales and the money and the charts. So it really doesn't matter. The door has been shut on Black women before. All we do is come and kick it down. So what?
No question. Sister Joy, please, conversation with us. Sister.
Yes, you guys are leaving off right where I wanted to start. I mean, the fact of the matter is, this is a metaphor for life. Right? Just because you are not being recognized by the gatekeeper, whoever is the official person, you can just simply go around. Here we are on, the Black, news network, right?
That part.
That's right.
You can create your own. You don't have to do it through someone else, waiting for them to acknowledge you. You can go direct to consumer. And so I love that in the same year that the CMA snubbed her, right? Stupidly, while the rest of us embraced her and bought it and blew it up. And other artists are saying, hey, we want to be associated with that because we know ultimately she's bringing in the dollars and she's bringing in the talent. She's bringing in great music. It's so silly. But to then I'm not a big fan of the NFL, trust me. I'm not a big fan of any of these. I mean, I can't even. But the fact that but they're not stupid, right? And we know they go where it's hot. And they would not be, they are selecting her because they understand that's what people want to see. They understand that she's significant. So even if a gatekeeper doesn't see you, so you have to see yourself. And Beyonce sees herself, and you can see that. She sees her people, and she brings that to a multicultural audience. You would have thought only Black people were watching. That's how Black it was.
Right.
And yet everyone is watching. Everyone is watching. It's for everyone. And they're all getting a piece of that history. They're all being like, let me look this up. What was the significance of this? And in so doing, they're getting the Black history. They're getting what they're not being taught of in school. So I love it.
Right.
I love it. I'm all for it. Now, let me just ask you about the business.
Mm-hmm.
So Netflix. What I have been loving, look, I'm a Taylor Swift fan too. What I've been loving is that not only have they been doing these concert tours, they've also been making movies, right, of the concert tour, which it tells a unique story. So then Netflix is now going to re-air it. How can we, are we going to be seeing more of that? Where you have the concert, you have the ecosystem who watched it maybe in real time, or even if it's being shown on TV live. But then you have this whole other group that gets to re-air it over and over again, and how the artists monetizing that.
Well, in my opinion, Netflix, this was one of the smartest moves, and we already know that Netflix has just stepped into an arena that nobody saw coming. You could never have told me that I wouldn't have to go sit in a movie theater. I could watch a new release at the same day from home with my slippers on and my hair up. Are you kidding me? And I don't have to pay money to go to a concert. I can watch a live stream from the own comfort of my home and drink Beyonce's whiskey if I wanted to while I was watching her perform. Netflix is super smart. There are 282.2 million people who are subscribed to Netflix. Like I said, 200 countries watched Beyonce last night, not just us. Right. And with this announcement that's coming on January 14th, I wouldn't be surprised if somehow there wasn't a Netflix tie to it. Who knows? I just believe that Netflix they see the bigger picture. They see that our music translates into buying power and spending power. Netflix really needs subscribers. Ask anybody who has a subscription, is somebody else on your account, okay? But if you, what Netflix wants to do is they want to make sure that they get our demographic. They know the power of the Black dollar, and they know that we will subscribe if we get to see content that is appealing to us. And so I do believe that this is a step in the right direction for Netflix. I do believe that once Taylor started dating Kelsey, I'm just going to keep it 100% real. I didn't know about Kelsey until Taylor. I just didn't. And then I started liking him. I started liking his appeal. I started liking
he's gorgeous.
Right. Yeah. I just started paying more attention to him. Now, I'm a New Yorker. I live in Atlanta. If the Giants, the Jets, and the Falcons aren't playing outside of what Sierra's husband is doing, I mean, I'm not there. But that's just me. I'm not a football fan like that. I did have tickets to the Falcons, but I was in the hallway, where the real party was. So, I'm that girl. I'm that social girl. But I will tell you that Beyonce doing this Christmas halftime performance was so appealing that.
Oh. I think we might have, it was so hot that it broke the literal connection, I suppose.
The CMAs took us out.
See,
Right.
there she goes. George there. Go ahead, finish. Look, go ahead, finish, Tasha. You were so hot, you just broke the screen. Go right
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I'm sorry about that. People are calling me. I thought I put do not disturb on. But what I was saying is that I'm really, I am a music person. I love sports. I can go watch it. I can hold a conversation with you about it. But what Beyonce did last night for our culture and pulling people, not just from, downstairs who were, dancing with the family, but they really pulled us into in front of our screens. And this isn't the last time that we've seen this partnership with Beyonce and Netflix by far. I don't think that this is the end of our partnership with Beyonce and the NFL. So far, this is her third performance. She's gaining millions and millions. And I'm not talking just single digit millions. She's already got 1 billion streams on Cowboy Carter. It's only going to go up from here.
Let me just say, my son just screamed out, don't forget Kendrick Lamar is doing the Super Bowl. I'm like, he missed
No
it.
doubt.
We already talked about it.
Yeah.
We already talked about it.
Absolutely. I will be watching Kendrick Lamar recording because I refuse. I will die before I watch another minute of NFL football, which kind of leads me to or anything related with it, quite frankly. So I mean, it leads me to my final question for you, Tasha. And we always benefited when you were on with our brother Faraji and the culture here on the network, and so we look forward to this conversation, particularly absolutely emptying into the next year, as Joyce says, with Kendrick Lamar at the Super Bowl. Of course, we see our sister Missy Elliott there over your shoulder. Portsmouth is about 10 minutes from Norfolk, where she and Timberland mixing up. So with Mike Vick down there and Allen Iverson at the conference, I imagine in a minute Norfolk State is going to be what people thought Deion Sanders was going to try to pull off at Jackson State. I guess my final question is, how much is too much for these white supremacists? In other words, the reason they have to defend country music, I'm from Nashville, so I understand, as you say, it isn't just culture, it's politics. And so how much blackness is going to finally become, in your mind, the tipping point? And like you say, you're working program directing, you help break Mariah Carey records there in Atlanta and beyond. You like you say, Missy, all these things, Black women in particular. I'm talking now about Missy. No shade. I mean, that one only have come from me from Mariah Carey. Yes, exactly. But that having been said, and I'm glad you brought up Morris Brown. A lot of people didn't know there were marching bands at HBCUs before they looked there in y'all stadium and saw that battle between Morris Brown and the fictional Atlanta A&T. So, at what point does this kind of capitalizing on Black culture bleed so much into politics? And Beyonce tried to help the vice president get over the finish line. Of course, white supremacy is a little too tough this cycle, but how much longer before this bleeding becomes so political that they just drop all pretenses? They can't cancel her. So, I mean, is there a tipping point? I mean, you've obviously been a part of this work for quite some time now, long enough to see ebbs and flows. As 2025 opens and we see, as you say, Joy, Kendrick Lamar at Super Bowl, at what point does making a buck kind of clash with the politics that kind of tries to keep us in line?
Well, listen, I've spent the last, so many decades. I hate to age myself in the music culture, but immediately, of course, I can think of a song, Luther Vandross, Never Too Much, Never Too Much, Never Too Much.
Right.
Pops right into my head. Listen, we got to do what we got to do. I think we've been oppressed and held down for far too long. I think that our music is an outright expression as to from before we got here, when we were on the plantations, when we were finding our way with Harriet Tubman. We had so many hymns and just motivation to come through music. We just can't stop. I mean, Marvin Gaye wrote a song, What's Going On? We still don't know what's going on. I mean, it's the song is so prevalent today. We just really can't be stopped. And if we need to put hidden messages in our music, then that's what we're going to continue to do to the end of time until the message gets out. Kendrick Lamar coming into the Super Bowl is a bold, brave decision made, and I understand that people were hit, hurt by Lil Wayne, who sits on my wall here, one of his platinum albums. But I think what we really need to do is, in this day and age, we need it to be heard, no matter if they hear it just on a surface level or if we hear it down to our bones. I think that we all need to dive a little bit deeper and listen to the lyrics that were being said. And as far as politics is concerned, we need music to get us through these next 4 years.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And quite honestly, the messaging outside of what you all provide and what the Roland Martin Network, what comes from it, we're going to need hidden messages in the song in order to get it through. Because quite honestly, with newspapers are going out of business, it's not being printed. TikTok is the new source of information. YouTube is the next source of information. And quite honestly, music is the gateway for that. And without the message getting through, it's going to be missed. I have a 10-year-old son. And he and I are in deep discussion. I let him listen, the clean versions, of course, to Kendrick Lamar. We listen to Wu-Tang. We listen to KRS-One. We listen to Queen Latifah.
Okay.
We listen to Sister Soldier. We listen to Run DMC. We listen to LL because he's one of my faves, because I need him to know the soft and sensitive side. But I mean, you mentioned Norfolk State. My dad went to Norfolk State, so I got a shout out to my dad. But I think that the times of us of our music being stolen from us are gone. I think that if we continue to push the bounds and cross into where they don't want us, I think this is just a normal path for us. This is not new to our culture. It might be new to other people because we've been suppressed for so long, but all in all, we're just not going to take it anymore. And if we need to claim it on the music charts, this is what we're going to do.
No question. Well,
Dr. Carr, can I add one thing?
Oh yeah, please.
Not that Tasha didn't say it all, but I just have to say that when we're in this anti-woke, anti-CRT, anti-DEI era where it seems like they're rocking up win after win, I think that Beyonce shows the limits of that. You can kill DEI, but you cannot kill the demand from the people. You cannot kill the way that Beyonce and Black people and our sauce and our swagger is always going to evoke the emotion, which is the opposite of the apathy that has gotten them all of these wins on the political side. And so what they should be looking at, instead of us looking at the limits and the tipping point, they should be looking at the limits and the tipping point of what they're trying to do, because they keep fucking around and we're not going to be having a debate about whether or not Beyonce is the greatest or whatever situation. We're going to be having the debate about the kind of things that they've had people in a slumber over. And so this is evidence of the limits of their political willpower over the people and what the people want to see.
Agreed.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We're vibing on this call because that is literally what I was going to say. I mean, the fact of the matter is the NFL isn't just playing Beyonce because we listen to Beyonce or Kendrick Lamar because we listen to Kendrick Lamar. We love us, but they're doing it because white people, young white people, middle-aged white people are listening to Beyonce and Kendrick Lamar and all of those things, right? And when they are getting messages, they may not be getting the same messages that we're getting, but they're getting a message. Okay. And so when they go to their workplaces and they see some of the activities that their forefathers and their mothers and their grandfathers and even their older siblings are doing, they're starting to say, no, I don't like that. Young people were supportive of Kamala Harris. They are ready, right? Yeah. It's the older generations who are not ready. And that is why they are afraid. That's why they're trying to control what we do.
That's right.
In our classrooms and our education. And music is a way of circumventing that.
Yeah.
That's right. We really are doing that since Colin Kaepernick, when he took the knee, right? It just became this large controversy. Think about it. Think about what's happening here. Even though people are upset because Jay-Z came and started working with the NFL, technically, he's really doing the same thing. I know people don't want to hear that because of the optics of it, but technically he's doing the same thing.
Is he though?
If you look at every performer, since Jay-Z is taking hold, it has been a bowed knee. It is the knee. It is the knee.
Yeah, he
And
said
I
he said
think
we're
people are
past he
missing
said we're past kneeling. I think he said we're past kneeling. And many of those old white men listened to Beyonce in their headphones as they walked into voting booths and voted for Trump. I've never really always understood. Remember as you say, you quote KRS-One, the tables turn as the cross is burned. Remember, you
it.
must learn.
Yeah.
So at any rate,
Come on now.
now they got white kids calling themselves. I mean, I'm just
I'm
thinking
impressed.
about, MCs act like they don't know. But at any rate,
Come
yeah,
on now.
I'm not sure about Sean Carter. At last I know, he and his friend Meek Mill bought a Maybach for a man who could buy that with his lunch money and put both them Negroes in prison. But at any rate, we'll talk about real power maybe another.
I just want to say nobody's saying this is revolutionary. Nobody's saying it's revolutionary. It's more so that it is absolutely though a display of the limits of what they're trying to do.
Absolutely.
They're trying to erase all of this, even if this isn't the best thing to happen to Black people since the Civil Rights Act. Nobody's claiming that. They don't even want us to have this much, but they can't help it because the demand far exceeds the power that they have, that we've allowed them to have because of our apathy. And so I know you're skeptical, Dr. Carr, and I will defer to you.
I'm not skeptical. I know we've been.
But you know what?
We got to take our wins where we can get them.
There you go.
But you know what?
Yeah.
A win is a win.
Yeah.
In the famous words of Kendrick Lamar, we're going to be all right.
Period.
People are missing that. We're going to be all right.
Oh, yeah. I guess we'll see. We'll see. So
Dr. Carr says they're not like us.
No. Look, no, I don't know who they and us is when you shaking a leg in prison jumpsuits at the Super Bowl, and 5 years later you're out there talking about they not like us. You mean like the owners in the booth laughing at you while you out there dancing in front of them? But we'll save that for the Super Bowl. But I don't even know who they and us is. But it's all good. But look, Tasha Love, you have given us a lot to think about, and between you, Joe, and Reese.
This conversation has to happen more. I love this.
Oh, no question. No question. This is, and only here. So it's good to see you again, sis. We got to have you back on the network very soon. Pioneer, industry insider, Tasha Love, thank you for joining us again here on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Fanbase is a free to download, free to use, next generation social media platform that allows anyone to have followers and subscribers on the same page. Fanbase was built through investment dollars from equity crowdfunding from the Jobs Act. People just like you help build Fanbase, and we're looking for more people to help build Fanbase. We are currently raising $17 million in a Regulation A crowdfund on Start Engine. We've already crossed $2.1 million, but we're looking to raise more capital from people just like you that deserve the opportunity to invest in early stage startups without having to be accredited investors. So right now, I'd like you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase right now, today. And then use Fanbase to connect with friends, grow your audience, and be you without limits.
President Joe Biden commuted the sentences for 37 out of 40 federal inmates on death row, converting them to life in prison without parole. These commutations are sure to frustrate Trump's plans to resume federal executions. Unlike executive orders, a president's successor cannot reverse clemency decisions. Trump restarted federal executions after a nearly 20-year pause during his first term in office. Biden put federal executions on hold when he took office in January 2021. The president released this statement about why he commuted the sentences, stating, "I've dedicated my career to reducing violent crime and ensuring a fair and effective justice system. Today, I am commuting the sentences of 37 of the 40 individuals on federal death row to life sentences without the possibility of parole. These commutations are consistent with the moratorium my administration has imposed on federal executions in cases other than terrorism and hate-motivated mass murder. Make no mistake, I condemn these murders, grieve for the victims of their despicable acts, and ache for all the families who have suffered unimaginable and irreparable loss. But guided by my conscience and my experience as a public defender, chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, vice president, and now president, I am more convinced than ever that we must stop the use of the death penalty at the federal level. In good conscience, I cannot stand back and let a new administration resume executions that I halted." Earlier this month, Biden commuted the sentences of nearly 1,500 people and pardoned 39 more convicted of non-violent crimes. He also issued a full and unconditional pardon of his son, Hunter Biden. Monday's decision does not apply to cases of terrorism or hate-motivated mass murder. It leaves out three of the most well-known men on federal death row. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, convicted for his involvement in the bombing at the Boston Marathon finish line in 2013. Dylan Roof, convicted for the shooting spree at the Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Charleston, South Carolina in 2015. And Robert Bowers, who was convicted for the mass shooting at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh in 2018. Joining me now is Patrice Willoughby, NAACP's Chief of Policy and Legislative Affairs. Patrice, I'm so happy that you're joining us tonight. And for many people out there, some are frustrated, but for many people who have been following this is a promise that has been kept for Biden that he fulfilled.
Absolutely. And first of all, thank you for having me this evening. We are extremely happy and thankful that the president has commuted these sentences because when the Biden-Harris administration came into office, they focused on equity. And we know that there is a lack of equity throughout the criminal justice system, which really has affected Black communities much more so than anyone else. And so it's only right that at this point, right before the holidays, that the president takes steps to commute these death sentences to life.
And what do you say to people who feel like, whoa, he's just trying to make up for what he did with Hunter Biden and he's just trying to get people to not really pay attention? For many of us who are familiar with what Biden is talking about, he's always been passionate about this because he stopped this as soon as he came into office. What do you say to people who say that this is just a last minute thing and he's trying to cover up his other pardons?
Well, I say this, we understand a lot more about criminal justice now than was in 1994 when the crime bill was enacted. And we also know that bill resulted in a large number of Black folks who were caught up in the criminal justice system. We are only 14% of the population, but 40% of the federal prison population. And in taking this step, the president is continuing what began with advocacy and activism that was trying to do things like equalize the crack to powder sentencing disparity, as well as do the unfinished business of the 2018 First Step Act, so that a lot of the people that would have received shorter sentences under that bill are still serving long sentences. So this is just the president moving toward justice and correcting some of the wrongs that have been done.
And what does a step like this look like in the lives of of real families who are pretty much assured that under Trump they were absolutely going to lose their family member should these executions have gone through?
I think it's a really sad legacy that when the last president came into office, one of the things he focused on was executing people. We know that there are sentencing disparities and that Black people receive longer sentences than white people for similar crimes, and that's reflected in the federal prison system as well. And so for those people who received either disproportionately long sentences or who were on death row and might have resulted in having a lighter sentence or life in prison, it's going to mean the world to their families for their sentences to be commuted.
And how do you feel when you think about some of the international pressure that was on Biden? I mean, the Pope spoke out about this. So many different advocacy organizations spoke out about this. Do you feel like this is something that was weighing heavily on Biden's conscience because of that international pressure, or this is just something he was going to stay consistent with regardless of what was happening outside of what people were saying?
The president is a person of faith. Many of us are people of faith. And I think that there's widespread recognition around the world. We incarcerate more people. We are one of the only countries that still has a federal death penalty. And there's a lot of question as to whether or not the state should be putting people to death. And so I think during this very holy time of the year, in the Judeo-Christian tradition, that it's a really important time for the president, and in recognition of his faith and in the redemptive power of forgiveness, as well as coupled with correction, that people should be taken off of death row and receive life imprisonment.
And taking it outside of death row, what are your thoughts about some of Biden's pardons that already? I mean, outside of Hunter Biden, people can talk about that forever, but there have been some other ones that some people consider controversial, such as a judge in Pennsylvania who people say was, selling convictions and the like. What do you think about Biden's overall pardon process? Have you been pleased with it? Is there more that needs to be done? How do you see it?
Well, I think that there's a lot more that can be done, and we hope that the administration will continue with clemency actions until they are out of office. I think that, you're never going to please everyone. We could talk about Hunter Biden's pardon, but the fact is that was a politically inspired prosecution. We can talk about the judge. But, that is what it is. What's important is that there are over 7,000 cases that the pardon attorney at the Department of Justice has already reviewed. Nonviolent offenses and people who are just waiting to have their sentence either commuted or pardoned. They've been vetted already, and there's a lot more that can be done. What we saw, the first step to bring down that crack powder. Garland then issued a charging memo and equalized sentencing. But there are still people who did not receive the benefit of that 2018 bill. And so they deserve justice as well. And we are hoping that the administration goes forward to give clemency to that large group of people.
Joe, the first question is for you.
Hey, kind of a two-part question to help people with their awareness. The NAACP doesn't stop doing work during Republican administrations. So talk a little bit about the battlegrounds where your work will take you during this next 4 years, as well as helping people understand from an awareness standpoint how important it is to be aware of what's going on as it pertains to these particular issues, these particular criminal justice issues, as well as how people can be supportive of your organization, which has a policy wing, which has a legal work wing. Educate us in a way that will allow us to really go forward and say, okay, here's how we need to continue to help, and not just be back and forth with NAACP and similar organizations.
Well, you're absolutely right. The fight never stops, and it hasn't since 1909. We are very concerned about the incoming administration's focus expressed through Project 2025, which is an anti-Black agenda, which is focused on rolling back all of the civil rights progress that has been made since the inception of the NAACP. And so NAACP.org is our website. We have a number of tabs that relate to issues and membership. We are an organization where everyone has the opportunity to offer their ideas during the year and to have those ideas adopted as part of our resolutions process. We are a bottom-up organization. That having been said, we watch the federal, we watch the state, and we watch local legislatures, because there are many anti-progress initiatives that have been seeded from the federal level down into the states. And so when you hear all of this talk about, let's send it back to the states, this is why we had federal law developed. This is why we have civil rights laws in place. And that is to guarantee the civil rights that are enumerated in the Constitution and that we are due and that we have worked to secure over the years.
Thank you.
Julianne?
Yes. Since I appreciate the work that the NAACP is doing at this time is so very necessary, questions about the pardons and clemencies. How many people are eligible to pardon? Could Biden do, as Gerald Ford did for draft dodgers, a blanket pardon? Let's say for non-violent drug offenders, for any number of categories. I appreciate the 1,500 and then the 37, but it doesn't seem to go far enough when we look at what we're facing, especially with the incoming administration. So what's the universe of people that Biden could pardon, and why would he or not do so?
Well, Dr. Melville, that's a really great question. There are at least 7,000 people who have applied for clemency of some type. And that's either to have a pardon where the legal liability is released, or to have their sentence commuted. That is either made subject to what they've already served, or have it wiped out, or have it reduced. Of those 7,000, we know that there are bulk of those are nonviolent offenses because the pardon attorney has already reviewed them, and he could do a blanket clemency for nonviolent offenses. So, for example, we know that there has been a disproportionate focus on cannabis and marijuana before medical marijuana and then adult use was normalized in many states. There are still people behind bars serving sentences for nonviolent marijuana, cannabis offenses. They should not be in prison anymore. There are people who should be released on compassionate release because the federal prison system is characterized with a lot of very long sentences, as well as mandatory minimum sentences, with a lot of folks serving time that is over 20 years of age, or 20 years in length. And so there are older people who don't pose any type of threat, who are still in federal prison. And, you know, there are multiple categories of these nonviolent offenses that the president could wipe out. Why he doesn't do it? Who knows? You know, I think that he's taken a really good step today, and we are happy about the death row commutations, but there is a lot more that can be done with just the swoop of a pen.
Thank you.
Mustafa.
Yeah. It's great to see everybody. You know, my question is around the history of pardons, especially in relationship to our communities. And often folks will sometimes think that we disproportionately are being given opportunities. Could you talk a little bit about, you know, for the various folks, the various groups that are out there, Black folks, white folks, Latino folks, so forth and so on, how we end up benefiting from pardons, or if it's, you know, pretty much across the board for folks?
Well, you know, we are disproportionately in the criminal justice system. And so when pardons and commutations are granted, it stands to reason that we would receive, Black people would receive a great number of them because, for example, 14% of the population, 40% of the federal prison population. I mean, Black men, for example, are 65% more likely to be charged with offenses that carry a mandatory minimum sentence. 53% of men serving sentences of 20 plus years for drug offenses are in federal prison. And so Black men also receive sentences that are 13% longer than their white counterparts. I mean, these are the miscarriages of justice in the criminal justice system. So I wouldn't even characterize it that we're receiving disproportionate benefit. It is, we have suffered disproportionate harm. And the president, in doing these clemency actions, you know, any clemency action is going to result in that harm being mitigated. And so that is really the issue that we should focus on. Why is the criminal justice system so focused on and negatively impacting Black communities? I mean, we know it looking at history, but we should all be focused on eradicating that disparity.
Patrice Willoughby, NAACP's Chief of Policy and Legislative Affairs, thank you so much for your time today, and please keep us posted on your efforts so we can continue to platform your work as well with the NAACP.
Thank you so much for having, and everyone have a good holiday.
Hi, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Fanbase is a free-to-download, free-to-use, next-generation social media platform that allows anyone to have followers and subscribers on the same page. Fanbase was built through investment dollars from equity crowdfunding from the Jobs Act. People just like you help build Fanbase, and we're looking for more people to help build Fanbase. We are currently raising $17 million in a Regulation A crowdfund on Start Engine. We've already crossed $2.1 million, but we're looking to raise more capital from people just like you that deserve the opportunity to invest in early stage startups without having to be accredited investors. So right now, I'd like you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase right now, today. And then use Fanbase to connect with friends, grow your audience, and be you without limits.
Elon Musk is from apartheid South Africa. And one of the things that he has spent a lot of time focusing on are declining birth rates around the country. Why is that? Well, it's fairly easy. Elon Musk desperately wants more white babies born in America and the world. Again, that's no shock because he's from South Africa, apartheid South Africa. If you don't believe me, here's his ignorant mama on Fox News.
And you were recently getting a lot of attention because there was a comedian online who said, listen, I get it. People don't want to have, they're talking about the birth rate, which your son talks a lot about it declining and the problems for humanity with that. And you said to his response about it being too expensive to have kids, you said, that's not the way to think about this. Explain.
Well, you know, when I had my children, we were in a two-bedroom small apartment overlooking a garage. And then the next year, I have a second child, we had an apartment with a view. And then by the third child, we could get a two-bedroom house. And you just, you know, as you move on, you start doing better and better. But people, you know, you don't have to go to the movies. You don't have to go out for dinner. You can just spend time with the most wonderful gifts you can ever have.
Exactly.
As a children.
You didn't.
Okay. All right. So here's the issue with that. And we have to understand when we talk about these declining birth rates. The reality is that we have been seeing declining birth rates in the United States. We're seeing this really from white people in the United States. Now, one of the things that we saw in the 1950s, we had an average, a woman was having an average of 5 babies. Now it's down to 2.2. And so Elon keeps saying, we can't have this, we can't have this. But then you got to ask the question, well, where are they having kids? A lot of Latino countries, huh? A lot of African nations, huh? Let's think about China. China actually changed their law 30 plus years ago, 1 child. Actually, that was kind of stupid because what they didn't realize is that in about 30 years, you're going to have a problem because you can't replace your population. And that's exactly where they face. You got folks who are living in rural China, a lot of the younger folks moving into cities. And so they have a serious population issue there, and they rescinded that rule. But really what this is all about is Elon Musk speaking the language of the Republican Party. Why are they so against abortion? White people aborting babies. This is about how do you continue to maintain control. It is about control. And so why are they so adamant against migrants coming to the United States? Because that means the nation becomes browner. But not necessarily the nation becoming browner. Because what we have to understand is that there are white Hispanics. And white Hispanics who typically adopt the ways of white people. Because when you think about colonialism, you think about racism, whiteness works. It does. It works. There was a video I saw over the weekend, and there was a young man who is Mexican. And in the video, he was talking about what it means to be brown, to be dark skinned. I'm gonna play the video of you for a second. We have to understand what's going on here. And so when you hear all of this talk about declining birth rates, I need you to understand the motivating factor for all of this. And it is to maintain whiteness. And so a lot of the attacks against immigration, it is what? They don't want them brown people here. What did Donald Trump say before, last time he was in Oval Office? What did he say? Why can't we get folks from Sweden or Denmark? You say, wait a minute, those are white countries. That's what you got going on. White folks coming into the country. He can't stand African immigrants. He doesn't want immigrants from Haiti. He doesn't want immigrants from the Caribbean. He doesn't want immigrants from Bermuda. No. The Republican Party, they want white people. Asian immigrants. Positively impacting Springfield, Ohio. Oh, no. We need them Negroes gone. I need y'all to understand what you're about to see. You need to understand the deportation efforts, all the talk about, they're taking jobs and it's housing. No, this is about maintaining whiteness in America. See, what you're seeing right now in the United States, we've actually seen in the past 10 to 15 years. Y'all may not pay much attention, but I did. There were massive protests happening all around Europe. What are the protests about? They were protesting African immigrants. Because guess what? Declining birth rates in Italy, Germany, Ireland, the UK, or the European nations. They were angry with these African immigrants coming in. But guess what? The reality is when you have declining birth rates, a nation has to replace the people in order to continue to maintain your GDP, your gross domestic product. If you don't have people who are doing the jobs, then you're going to be in trouble. The Elon Musk of the world, they care about white people who aren't having babies. And that's exactly what you heard there. I want to bring my panel right now. I'm Congo DeBean, Senior, Professor of Lecture School of International Service, American University, lawyer Candace Kelly, lawyer Jade Mathis. Glad to have all of y'all here. I mean, this is real clear, Candace. And I don't think people need to understand when you hear these discussions about declining birth rates. They don't give a damn about black people. They don't give a damn about brown people. This is about maintaining whiteness in America and, frankly, in Europe.
So listen, we are talking, Roland, about declining birth rates. We're also talking about the increase of the death rates within the white population. And this is what we call a culture shift. This is a culture shift that people are recognizing that they need to do something about. And I think that when we talk about anybody who is brown skinned, and I know that you're about to run that clip, that if you are in any way black or brown, close to it, anything that is anything other than being white, you are going to be dealt a lesser hand. I think that they are somewhere trying to figure out what happened. How did we let this happen? But as we know, culture shifts happen all the time. We are in the middle of a culture shift right now when we transition on January 20th. A culture shift happened after George Floyd. People, they changed, they were about face when it came to DEI. There's always culture shifts that we are living in. This is a huge one. And this is why we are hearing this rhetoric that's kind of really hidden. But you are right in that the bottom line is that white people, as we know them, those rates are declining. And when we see less of them, we're talking about generations from now, everything will shift. It's just a numbers game. It's inevitable that everything will shift if you have fewer people who are mating and procreating people who would be considered white in this world. And again, we think about whiteness. We're not talking about ethnicity. Sometimes we are, but when we think about it in the context of Mexicans or Indians, it is the lighter, the better. It has nothing to do sometimes with the race that you are almost brought in, and they recognize this.
See, a lot of folks, again, don't really pay attention to what these things mean, Congo. Go to my iPad, Anthony. This is a piece that was in Politico in July 2024, the political shockwaves of America's falling birth rates. And so when you go here, this is what it says. Dangerous and destabilizing. Social Security insolvency, less economic growth, a smaller and older workforce. They say those are some of the long-term economic consequences demographers and economists say the U.S. could face if Donald Trump makes good on a central tenet of his campaign platform, significantly cutting immigration levels and increasing deportations. Now, when you go here and you look at this here, you'll begin to understand it. So when J.D. Vance was complaining about childless cat ladies and said that them not having children is catastrophic for the country, he talking about white women. And look at this here. He said, if your society is not having enough children to replace itself, that is a profoundly dangerous and destabilizing thing, he said in an interview with Megyn Kelly. But guess what? What is the answer to that? Immigration is one of those answers. Look at this here. According to a January report from the Congressional Budget Office, immigration is almost entirely responsible for keeping the population at steady state or growing levels through 2054, even as a U.S. fertility rate continues to fall. This is very simple. The numbers decrease. The United States saw a decrease in the number of births from 2002. It's down to 1.6 births per woman over the course of a lifetime. Right here. That's far below what the rate needed to keep the U.S. population at replacement levels. See, the issue here, Congo, is not that, with immigration, they're being replaced. The question is, whom are they replacing? And what do people look like? The reality is that Republicans have no problem if the people coming into America are white. Exactly. They're white. And so I actually don't know. I think I have an issue with Congo's. Congo, you there? Congo, you there? Guys, double check.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, now we can hear you. There was an issue with your signal. They want white people. And I just need black people to understand what's going on here. They want white people. They want white people to replace the white people who are not being born. That's what they want. Looks like we have an issue with Congo's feed. Let me go to Jade. Jade, that same question for you. People need to understand what's being said, what's being unsaid, but being said.
Yeah, absolutely, Roland. The one thing that I thought about that I don't think they factored in is that as of the 2022 census, we now have 33.8 million people who are biracial in the United States, right? So when we're talking about the people that they want to increase, the percentage, like you said, they're talking about a particular set of people, right? They're talking about white people who look like them, but not only those who look like them, those who are at an economic advantage as them, right? So those who they think they're going to bring some value to them. So those who are not going to be able to do the Black jobs and the Hispanic jobs, right? But then if you're talking about immigration and deporting the ones who are doing the Hispanic jobs, then who's going to be left to do what you consider the Hispanic and Black jobs? But by the way, I hope you consider the large amount of biracial people in the United States as that continues to grow.
So again, watch this here. Look at this here. Go to my iPad. This was a report the Biden White House put together May 2024. A first principles look at historically low U.S. fertility and its macroeconomic implications. Folks, what we're talking about here is economics. And it shows it right here. The U.S. birth rate declined to its lowest level in history. This data point is the most recent in the trend of falling U.S. fertility rates since 2017. The agency says observers have noted that low fertility and the aging population that it generates implies fewer workers per capita and creates significant headwinds to economic growth, the fiscal sustainability of a public benefit programs, and the trend of continuous improvements in living standards as reflected in per capita incomes. So let me unpack that, and people need to understand this, Congo. So if you're 30 years old right now, okay, you're paying into Social Security. Retirement is what? Is it 65, 67? Maybe they raised it to 70, okay? But let's just say it's 65. That now means you're going to retire in 35 years. Mm-hmm. In order for you to retire in 35 years, you're going to need people working in 35 years, paying into the system so you can get paid. The problem is, if you continue to see a drop in U.S. fertility rates, if you are not replacing those people, the person who's 30 today, when they become 65, you ain't having nobody pay into a system. But so that's one piece of it. But again, the Elon Musk of the world and people like him and Republicans, Donald Trump and others, they have no issue with white people coming into America. They do not want Black and brown people.
Absolutely. I mean, I haven't heard any stories about when people talking about cracking down on illegal immigrants. I haven't heard them say anything about the over 200,000 Irish immigrants who are in New York and cracking down on them. There's never a conversation about that. And the roots of this country are rooted in that. Remember last year, Roland, when the National Genealogical Society had to come out with an apology because they said their whole organization was founded on the importance of white purity. That's why they were testing genes. And so that's the history of it. You know, Julian Bond said America spells out I am race if you switch out the letters. Donald Trump is running on an age-old idea in America. And you started out with Elon Musk's mom. Elon Musk was born in 1971? So she's talking about raising 2 white children in South Africa. I think she's going to be all right no matter how she had those children. So this idea that they are this party of, purity. Yes, purity for the continual growth of white children. And they don't care. And that's why they want to have these anti-abortion laws, because at the end of the day, they believe that it's going to help more white women reproduce. But these Black and brown kids that reproduce, put them out, you got prisons for that, right? You got a poor educational system. You got things that may happen with police misconduct. I heard one of these politicians say over the weekend, we need more Daniel Pennies out there because we got too many Jordan Neelys. So they already have a plan for population control for many of us. And so the more honest we are about this, the more we can actually tackle this situation. And we have a president that's coming in who ran on whiteness. Look at me and my beautiful white skin. I'm more white than Giannis Antetokounmpo from the Milwaukee Bucks. And if we're not honest with this, it's going to be too late for too many of us. And so the fact that you're leading with this tonight is extremely important, because they have a plan for population control, and they have a plan for making sure that those numbers, ever since those reports came out, Roland, that said by 2050 something, white folks are going to be in a minority, they've been losing their mind. And that great replacement theory and everything you talk about in your book, White Fear, is coming to fruition. And now they have their avatar who they believe is going to usher them into this new stage of the continual growth of white people at the expense of black and brown people. But I got news for them. It's not going to happen.
So, Candace, you see the widening of the wage gap when you look at the concerns about the environment and climate change. You hear young people say, I'm not trying to have kids. You look at the housing crisis in America right now. They're saying, I don't want kids. And so folk have to understand, if a person does not believe that they're going to have a sound economic footing in the future, then they're not going to be getting married. They're not going to be having children. And so all of these people, look, Donald Trump's going to have 11 billionaires working somewhere in his administration. They're going to sit and be trying to rape the government, okay? We know exactly what's going to happen here. They want to get richer. And so the same people who are complaining about low fertility rates don't want to do anything about the declining values in the country when it comes to wages, when it comes to housing, when it comes to affordability. And when you don't do anything to stop guns, when you got kids who are being shot and killed in a Christian school, even more so these things are happening. And so folk need to wake up and recognize why people are not having children. And that is because they do not believe they're going to have a stable economic future in moving forward. Candace?
Oh, that was for me. I missed your word there. Listen, that is one of the big holes in this idea that we haven't talked about. Now we are. And that is not really being talked about on a large scale. And that is, even if you have the influx of people, they're making decisions that are falling within their means. People don't understand that there are folks out there who are making decisions between $5 gas, $5 eggs, whether or not they're going to eat. It used to be 20 years ago that $100,000 would do something. Not today, not if you live in Chicago, New York City, LA, I'm in Jersey, not with these property taxes. You do have to be somebody who is married, somebody who is stable. Then at that point, where are you living? You're worrying about your education system. Do you have to pay for that? Was it like me, where I had the opportunity to go to a public school and everything became fine? Are you in the middle of some lottery system that you have to be a part of? Can you afford the life that you are living? And as you get older, are you really able to have children? Because we have an education system that is telling us you have to get this education, and that undergraduate degree is not going to be enough. You now have to get a graduate degree, and then you have loans that you now have to pay for that are just holding you by the neck, and then everything becomes at a standstill. So regardless of how many people you bring in that you would like and hope will mate with each other, there's so many societal issues that you have to understand exist that is still going to stop people from doing that. It's the same thing that are stopping people today. It is all a question of economics. And we saw this rise to the top with the election. People wanted to know, how much money, more money can I make with the president of my choice? And that's why so many people, whether they were young, educated people, women and men, African-American men especially, who crossed right over because it was a question about economics.
Jay, here's interesting here. This is a study that was done. Let me pull this up. And this is from 2009. So I just want people to understand that this was being stated 15 years ago. And what I love about this is that I'm sitting here looking at it, and it jumps out. It says, although recent data shows that birth rates in the UK have increased, this is predominantly due to immigration. So there are still serious concerns about long-term replacement. It says there are two potential means of addressing the problem of providing a young, productive workforce able to generate income to provide the social care for the old and infirm. One of those ways is immigration. It says the first is to find ways of increasing the birth rate. This is essentially a long-term solution, but one which should provide more steady and predictable results. The second is to encourage immigration of a predominantly young and skilled workforce. Now, what does it say? The declining birth rate is not unique to Britain and Western European countries. Countries like Japan have a similar concern. And this is what it says. There are several factors, such as lifestyle factors and an increase in sexually transmitted diseases, rise in obesity, and environmental factors involving urbanization and urban lifestyle that are affecting fertility have led to rise in male and female subfertility. Then it gets to the socioeconomic factors, lack of affordable housing, flexible and part-time career posts for women, and affordable and publicly funded free childcare have contributed to the current low fertility birth rates. Couples, women are delaying starting a family, which has led to a true decline in their fertility rates levels due to ovarian aging and related reasons, leading to reduced change of conception. Now, why am I saying all of that? If you do not deal with the economic realities of life, you're not going to be able to change this. And so, listen, I don't have any birth children, but when my wife and I raised my nieces, twin nieces, daycare was as high as $2,000 per month. We're talking about a mortgage when it comes to childcare. And so now you're dealing with that. And so this is one of the issues. I remember when Bill Clinton, when they were changing the welfare work requirements, oh, you got to go out and work. And people were like, yo, I want to work. Who's going to care for my child? I got to make a decision. Do I care for my child and go to work, or do I work and I got to stick my child with a friend or a family member? That's real. And so American policymakers can't on one hand talk about, oh, we got to get rid of immigration. We got to deport all of these people if you still don't address the underlying reasons why folks who are American don't want to have kids. It's an economic issue.
Yeah, well, I think you're absolutely right. And I'm so happy that you show that article and you share what you share, because I am pushing upwards 40. And I think as a civil rights attorney, I make a pretty good income. However, that is one of the main reasons that I am not prepared to have a child, is because I don't know. I cannot pay for childcare in the DMV area or Los Angeles. I'm bi-coastal. It's at least $2,500 to $3,000 a month. I have non-traditional work hours, so I can't do that. I am so scared the way this economy is going, to the point where I froze my eggs last year because I said, I am not sure when I'm going to be able to have a mini person. So it's that bad that we have that fear. So you're absolutely correct.
Congo, again, same story here, says there has to be a policy, a state and federal policy to address the realities of fertility. One of the things in this article, I'm going to go up a little bit earlier, they said that, hey, government should be looking at, how do you fund fertility treatment? How do you fund IVF? When you got Republicans who are frankly having a war against IVF, now you're like, hold up, y'all are having a war against IVF, but then y'all complain about low fertility rates. Which is it? This is an issue that, again, and for all these people, and I remember I had some people over Congo who like, oh yeah, Roland Martin, he's sitting here, trying to explain to us, why immigration is good. I'm just telling you right now, facts are facts. If one of the reasons, and this is what economists say, one of the reasons the United States was able to weather the storm of COVID, and one of the reasons why the U.S. economy rebounded at a faster rate than any other nation, was because of immigration. Numbers don't lie. The amount of money the work they were doing, they're putting money into the system. Now, you could have these loud mouths in Chicago, some fool who was complaining, I won't have her on the show. And I'm like, because y'all are idiots. You can sit here and complain all you want to, but I'm laying out, and this story, what I'm showing you is a document from 2009, okay? 15 years ago. We're now in 2024, and we're seeing in the United States the exact same problem that the UK, Japan, and so many other European countries are now dealing with. And so you can just sit here and go, well, hey, I don't care. It's not going to impact me. But trust me, it's going to impact your children. It's going to impact the next generation. And it's going to take several generations of intense focus on fertility in the country in order to reverse this trend. And there's nothing that tells me that is going to actually happen.
Yeah, I think another thing we need to add is that since that article came out in 2009, now in 2024, we're also dealing with these issues of these abortion laws that have been leading to men and women deciding to surgically put themselves in positions where they can't have kids. Right. And college students are doing it, and people are doing it at younger and younger ages because they don't know if they're going to have their, cycles tracked, or if they're going to be prosecuted if they decide to have an abortion from an unexpected pregnancy. And young women are actually doing that as well. So that's another complication that has been added since this. As somebody who's on a college campus, I'm seeing this every single day. I'm also concerned. I'm raising, I have my two daughters are 18 and 16, and my son is 10. And one of the other things we need to add to it is we see seeing all of these stories about loneliness, right? And women feeling like they're not finding compatible mates in terms of some of the men out there. So ever since that article, there have been more and more reasons why we should be nervous about these declining birth rates. And you also mentioned earlier the issue with China. India also had, a policy as well. And if you see what's happening with China right now and what they're doing, importing women from other countries in order to be able to produce babies and the like, and the preference for the male child, this is something that has been predicted. And if we don't get a hold on the economic factors that are contributing to us not being able to produce more children or feel like having more children can be a desire, then this country is going to go the way of other countries that you have so rightfully cited here. The problem is with this new administration coming in, we know a recession's coming down. We know that there's going to be terrible economic policies. We know this man does not have a plan for the working poor. And so we're going to be dealing with this for at least another 4 years. And another 4 years could set us another 100 years back as it relates to, like you said, getting back to a point where our levels are right. But these folks at the top, these so-called leaders and 11 plus billionaires in Trump's administration, they do not give a damn about any of us below them.
Hi, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Fanbase is a free to download, free to use, next generation social media platform that allows anyone to have followers and subscribers on the same page. Fanbase was built through investment dollars from equity crowdfunding from the Jobs Act. People just like you help build Fanbase. And we're looking for more people to help build Fanbase. We are currently raising $17 million in a Regulation A crowdfund on Start Engine. We've already crossed $2.1 million, but we're looking to raise more capital from people just like you that deserve the opportunity to invest in early stage startups without having to be accredited investors. So right now, I'd like you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase right now, today. And then use Fanbase to connect with friends, grow your audience, and be you without limits.
House Democrats are sending an early warning signal to Speaker Mike Johnson that he shouldn't count on them to rescue him again. Johnson will have the barest of majorities next year, and he's facing growing unrest within the Republican conference. With a majority as narrow as 219 to 215, Johnson may only be able to afford to lose one vote. Kentucky Republican Congressman has said he will vote against Johnson's reelection as Speaker on January 3rd, with several other Republicans saying they are undecided. Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries says Johnson shouldn't be looking at Democrats to save him this time.
There has been questions about whether Mike Johnson is at risk of not being the Speaker of the House in a couple of weeks. What do you think?
I think that's a real risk, and there will be no Democrats available to save him or the extreme MAGA Republicans from themselves based on the breaching of a bipartisan agreement that reflected priorities that were good for the American people.
Julian, when you see what's happening right now with the Democrats, some people are saying this is basically the Democrats' house because nothing is going to happen without their approval because Mike Johnson doesn't have any confidence of many other Republicans. And so, but if he's turning towards Hakeem Jeffries again to help bail him out, then people are basically saying, we got President Musk and we pretty much got House Speaker Jeffries. How do you see how the Democrats are handling this?
I think that Hakeem Jeffries is an amazing leader. I think that most of the Democrats and the caucus, really all, even the centrists, are basically I heard one man say, you know, I'm Team Jeffries. I'm gonna take cues from leadership. So what that means is that there are very few opportunities for Johnson to get anything through. He's being pushed. I feel sorry for the man, kind of. I mean, he's being pushed from his right and from his far right. And then he has somebody who purchased a co-presidency. He paid to be co-president. And given that, what do we expect to have happen when it gets down to crunch time? Right now, Republicans can afford to lose 1 or 2 votes. And yet there are a couple of House races still to be called. I mean, if God is good, Democrats pick up another seat or 2, and it's all over but the shout. And basically, that's what, you know, the Republican Party has been in disarray for a very long time. And their 15-vote nonsense around Kevin McCarthy lets you know how crazy they are or how unorganized they are. The task forces with the Democrats who are going lockstep behind Hakeem Jeffries. And if they're not careful, Republicans aren't careful, Hakeem could still end up as a speaker because that 1 or 2 Republicans vote for him and see what happens. So the Republican Party has been purchased by oligarchs, and they are basically getting returns on the investment from oligarchs. Meanwhile, Democrats have been disciplined. The discipline is not going to be enough. This is something that has to be fought tooth and nail. Keeping my people in the light. Keeping my people in the light.
So, Mustafa, one of my concerns is that the Democrats may have, well, what if they can't keep their word? So say the whole speaker vote comes up again, and there's somebody who is more extreme than Speaker Johnson who may want to come up, somebody, I don't know, like a Marjorie Taylor Greene or something. And the only way that this gets prevented from happening is Democrats decide to go against go and support Mike Johnson. And just, similar to last week, how, they saved the country by avoiding the shutdown. Are you concerned about that? Do you feel like Democrats should just hold the line regardless? How do you see it from your insider perspective? Is this going to be something that a promise they're going to have trouble keeping?
Well, yeah, they may have trouble keeping it. I mean, politics is about strategy if you're doing it properly, and that means that you have to make the best decisions in the moment that you have. Of course, hopefully you're already thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead about what the possibilities are. But that's what this is all about. Folks try and complicate this. It is about strategy. It is about deciding which is the best move in the moment and how it will play out over time. And you got to do a better job of also just educating folks about how all this stuff actually plays out on Capitol Hill and in state houses. But we're talking about Capitol Hill right now. So, there's going to be some very tough decisions, like Julian said, that folks are going to have to make. But you have to make sure that your base understands why you're making those decisions and what the ultimate long-term goal is. So over this next 2 years, there'll be tough decisions. But if folks get their act together, then they have an opportunity during the midterms to, kind of balance out the equation, if you will.
And so, Joe, thinking about that, Mustafa mentioned the midterms. Given what you've seen from the Democrats so far, we can talk about the House, we can talk about the Senate, we're talking about the House specifically now, but you can take it wherever you want. How optimistic are you about how organized the Democrats are going to be in fighting as we work towards the midterm election? Because, the Republicans, even though they don't have a mandate, they're talking about a mandate. They're talking about, we got super control of the House, but actually when Trump takes office, he's going to lose a couple more seats because of his appointees. So he actually doesn't have that mandate. How do you see what the Democrats are doing going forward as we work towards the midterms? Are you optimistic or are you concerned in any way, shape, or form?
I'm optimistic as it pertains to the House. I think that we certainly have an opportunity, and frankly, it wouldn't take much. Connecting to the previous question, I think that you have to let the Republicans make their mistakes. They're going to make mistakes. Johnson's still wet behind the ears. He should never have been Speaker. There's one part of him that may understand the realities of governing. That's why he made that bipartisan deal. And then there's the other part of him that will do whatever Trump says, which is why he pulled out of the deal. But Mike Johnson is the one that has to survive in the House. Trump is not the one that has to do that. even though he's affected by what happens or what in this case may not happen in the House. So I like their chances, the Democrats' chances to take the House back, just because if not any other thing, the Republicans are not going to be on the same page. They're already indicated that. They're already fighting about power they don't quite have yet, right? Now, that being said, Democrats also have to do what they need to do so that folks understand why they're doing what they're doing. And when things go bad in the House, the Republicans have to be able to own it. So in other words, the Democrats can't step on each other. They have to stay on the same page so that the Republicans rise or fall with what they do at what they actually do in the House. The Democrats don't always do the best job of messaging, frankly, getting it out to people. Here's why we're doing what we're doing. Here's where we are. We don't have the majority, but we're not standing for X or Y or Z. And so hopefully they can do the things they need to do so that their base understands why they make every move that they make. And so that if the Republicans are the ones to cross counsel, to step on each other and actually stop the wheels of government from moving, then they are the ones that suffer a political consequence for it.
And you're absolutely right about the messaging. And this, like you said, it could be a great time for Democrats to really stay organized and strike. I mean, you got President Musk and Vice President Trump and Prime Minister Vance. No one knows where he is. Overseas right now. So this is really a great time, for Democrats to stay organized. And, let's hope that that's something that happens, because if we don't get these midterms, I don't know what's going to happen over these next 4 years. So,
hi, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Fanbase is a free to download, free to use, next generation social media platform that allows anyone to have followers and subscribers on the same page. Fanbase was built through investment dollars from equity crowdfunding from the Jobs Act. People just like you help build Fanbase, and we're looking for more people to help build Fanbase. We are currently raising $17 million in a Regulation A crowdfund on Start Engine. We've already crossed $2.1 million, but we're looking to raise more capital from people just like you that deserve the opportunity to invest in early stage startups without having to be accredited investors. So right now, I'd like you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase right now, today. And then use Fanbase to connect with friends, grow your audience, and be you without limits.
After President-elect Elon Musk tweeted out Donald Trump followed him, the Republicans scuttled the bipartisan agreement they had to continue paying for the government. Now they have a new bill that stripped out a lot of the other priorities. Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, Democratic leader, he spoke about all the silliness happening on Capitol Hill because of the back and forth with these Republicans.
About the harm that House Republicans will do to the American people if the government shuts down. Families will be hurt. Farmers will be hurt. Everyday Americans whose lives were turned upside down by extreme weather events like hurricanes and floods and wildfires will be hurt if they don't get the relief that they need and deserve to improve their quality of life. If the government shuts down, holiday travel will be impacted. The ability of everyday Americans to visit their family, their friends, their loved ones will be impacted. Border security and Border Patrol agents will not be paid. TSA agents will not be paid. Small businesses will be hurt in every single community in this country. This reckless Republican-driven shutdown can be avoided if House Republicans will simply do what is right for the American people and stick with the bipartisan agreement that they themselves negotiated.
Folks, this is a live look on Capitol Hill right now as this conversation continues. It's a whole lot of back and forth that's taking place on Capitol Hill. And so now what you have, of course, again, as I said, that was an agreement. But then Elon Musk decided to tweet that he didn't like the deal. Republicans then began to cave, begin to cower. As a result, Donald Trump then began to say, oh, he didn't like the deal as well. And so that was Minardi's Hakeem Jeffries. Now, he then went to the floor and talked about, I'm sorry, how the Republicans going to try to school somebody on fiscal conservatism when Donald Trump did this?
In our nation's 248-year history, 25% of our nation's debt was accumulated during the 4 years of the former president. 25%. How dare you lecture America about fiscal responsibility, ever? And then President Biden comes to office, gets big things done for the American people on infrastructure, on the CHIPS and Science Act, standing up a clean energy economy, rescuing America from a once-in-a-century pandemic, gets all of these big things done, partnering with House Democrats and Senate Democrats. And in the process, in his first 2 years, reduces the deficit by $1.7 trillion. And so we see a very clear pattern. The facts speak for themselves. Democrats are the party of getting things done and fiscal responsibility. Republicans are the party of massive tax cuts for the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected, which...
Again, so let's unpack this, y'all. We talk about the tax bill that was pushed through by Trump when he was there last time, at a 25% to the federal debt. But now they're running around trying to educate folk on when it comes to the economy. What a particular joke. So, and what Jeffries is saying is like, okay, you know what? Y'all want to do this? The onus is on y'all. Y'all do this here. Y'all get to work. And that's exactly what it should be. It's like, okay, now it's all your ball game. Let's talk about this with our panel. Dr. Greg Carr, Department of Afro-American Studies at Howard University. Joy Cheney, strategist. Glad to have both of y'all here. I mean, here's the reality, Greg. And I saw this tweet from Eric Erickson. He was like, you know, why isn't Biden doing more to solve this problem? That was a bipartisan deal. President-elect Elon Musk, and that's the real deal. And here's what Americans had better understand. The United States, if you thought the oligarchs before controlled public policy, absolutely, public policy in America is now going to be determined by tweets.
It looks that way, to the tune of over 150 since 4 in the morning yesterday. Where's Junior Varsity Vance, by the way? You know, he's gone quiet, so I'm wondering if he's down there over at Steve Bannon's townhouse in the shadow of Capitol Hill, plotting and planning for the great takeover. This is a preview, of course, of what's going to happen beginning in January. Of course, they want to get rid of the debt ceiling because they're getting ready to pay these billionaires off with our tax money and borrow the United States into oblivion. Now, the Democrats aren't, fiscal hawks. This goes back to Bill Clinton and triangulation and DLC and trying to, show themselves to be centrist, so to speak. But Bernie Sanders got it right today. The richest man on earth, President Elon Musk, doesn't like it. Will Republicans kiss the ring? Billionaires must not be allowed to run our government. Well, guess what? Billionaires have been running it for quite some time. And thanks to John Boy Roberts in 2010 with Citizens United and unfettered access, Elon Musk has the cheat code. It's not even a cheat code anymore because there aren't any rules now, Ron.
There aren't any rules. Enjoy it, folks. Just need to go ahead and get used to it. And it's like, okay, since y'all want to run the whole show, and since these Americans said let's have them run the show, have at it.
Yeah, we're going to find out. You know, you messed around and you're going to find out. We don't have a democracy anymore. It feels much more like an oligarchy. And frankly, this is going to lead to a lot of chaos because eventually Donald Trump is going to get sick of Elon Musk, you know, stealing his thunder. Who even knows if he even knew what Elon was going to do before he did it, and that now he has to save face, and it's their silly, immature dynamics are now changing what our whole government is doing. And let's be clear, Joe Biden did his job in that he had a Democratic Senate and a Republican House that came up with a deal. We only have one president at a time. President Joe Biden, they have a deal under him that he was willing to sign. Donald Trump should have just simply walked away, allowed it to be signed, and then he could have said whatever the hell he wanted afterwards. But to try to get in the way of the deal because some oligarch said that that's what you have to do is completely irresponsible. And I don't think we just need to hear from Jeffries. I think we need to hear from the president on this. And by that, I mean President Biden. We need to hear what is going on. Every moment in the United States is important. We got all the way to January 20th. We need everyone's voice on this. This is no way to run a country. We had a deal. It should have been honored.
Yeah, but look, of course there was a deal, but the bottom line is they want to exert their influence. And Republicans still control the House. That's just a fact. And so it's like, and again, you know what? That's how y'all want to roll. But I need everybody understanding. And this is what people had better get used to, Greg. There's going to be more of this. You are going to see a lot more of this. You are going to see the Elon Musk of the world, the Vivek Ramaswamy and the others making policy. And there's going to be that inevitable clash with Donald Trump. And we'll see how that ends up. But as that, what was that video, Homeboy of the Hotel? It's above me now.
And making policy via tweet.
Yeah. It's I tell you, like you said, Joy, it's chaos. And, you know, when we think about this legislation that had been agreed to, I mean, there are little things like people here in the DMV, the idea that the federal government would turn over control of Robert Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr. Stadium so that the Washington Commanders might be able to build a new complex there. You know, I don't watch NFL football anymore since Kaepernick, but there are a lot of people out there who be like, oh, my God, it seems like a small thing. But the point is this. If they can't, well, they're not going to honor their word because honor means nothing. But if they can't go ahead and push this through because Musk is screaming, then, as you say, this is a preview of January. The MAGA Muppet Mike Johnson, is likely to lose his speakership. We saw what happened when they tried to elect the speaker the last time, you know, and Matt Gaetz damn near getting choked out and Byron Donalds getting the back of his head palmed, still waiting on his presidential. Hell, they put Herschel Walker in an ambassadorship before this manservant, as Lauren Victoria Burke would call him, got a call. But, you know, I think most importantly, and I don't know what y'all think about this, it seems like maybe the key to this, with all the noise notwithstanding, is to get this debt ceiling gone for 2 years. So they can basically just run up the bill. But like you said, in terms of a preview, in that hillbilly horde in Congress, people like Chip Roy and them, Thomas Massey out of Kentucky, those cats ain't gonna vote for nothing that adds a penny to anything. So they're gonna have to have Democratic votes. And, you know, as Hakeem Jeffries is kind of being eloquent about it in a very temperate sense, but Jasmine Crockett said, you know, what she said, I guess you probably show it in a minute, your homie talking about this, the Democrats shouldn't lift a finger. Let this pain be redistributed, as Minister Farrakhan or Martin Luther King, for that matter, would say, redistribute the pain.
Well, absolutely. Guys, get that Jasmine Crockett clip. She was on MSNBC talking about this. And she's right. And people just need to realize the level of stupidity. We're going to see a bunch of this over the next 2 years. So just buckle up, roll a clip.
This is not like one of the most senior members, right? So basically, he had not burned enough bridges, and so they had to go way, way down in seniority to find someone that they could come to a consensus on. When they swear in January, or when we all try to swear in January, listen, there's going to be less Republicans than we had in the 118th, right? Because the story has not really been told about how strongly House Democrats performed while the Republicans won the White House, while they ended up picking up so many seats in the Senate. You know who lost seats? The House, right? Now, should we have a Speaker Jeffries? Absolutely. If North Carolina didn't cheat and take away our seats, we would have a Speaker Jeffries, and we would not be in this situation. But here's the deal. There is no fixing this without the Democrats. We have seen this over and over, and I'm just going to sit back and sip my tea and wait on them to figure it out.
Or maybe sip something stronger. I'm just saying it. Hakeem Jeffries, you
check out this response from Congressman Jamie Raskin.
Where are you on this negotiation?
We had many weeks of negotiation with the Republicans. We arrived at a bipartisan legislative compromise. The Senate Democrats, the Senate Republicans, the House Democrats, the House Republicans, everybody agreed. And then it was blown up by Elon Musk, who apparently has become the fourth branch of government. And that's just an intolerable way of proceeding under representative democracy. So the Democrats are going to try to figure out how we can salvage the public good out of the wreckage that has just been foisted upon us.
But do you think that there's a scenario where you might regret rejecting a clean debt ceiling increase? I mean, that's what they've added to this.
We're going to discuss this in our caucus, and we'll figure out what to do. It's just horrific that they have thrust us into this kind of chaos already, and they haven't even taken over yet.
Some Republicans are saying they've done their part now, that what comes next is up to you, and if this doesn't get passed and the government shuts down, the Democrats are going to own this.
Yeah, they did their part by entering into a legislative compromise with us, which we negotiated over a several-month period. We arrived at the compromise, and that's what we've all been behind, and that's what we expect to go forward. So who is our leader, Hakeem Jeffries, supposed to negotiate with? Is it Mike Johnson? Is he the Speaker of the House? Or is it Donald Trump? Or is it Elon Musk? Or is it somebody else? So we got to try to figure out how to salvage some kind of public interest out of the wreckage that they've just put upon us. Thanks.
Well, a great point. I love that. So who's supposed to negotiate with? Is it you, Mike? Is it Don? Is it Elon? Which one of y'all?
Yeah, and we've been here before. I mean, we have been here before. This is what happened with the immigration deal. This is what's happened with previous debt ceiling deals. You make a deal with the Republican, and then they are like, we're good to go. We've got a deal. And then they get a tweet or they get a message from Donald Trump that says, don't make that deal. That does not instill trust. So you cannot make a deal with them. The Democrats should not engage in any more deal making with this particular Republican Party until they understand that when you give your word, you know, Mike Johnson is a man of faith. Or at least he says so. What else is a man other than his word, or a woman for that matter? When you give your word and you say we're done, we're ready to vote and to go to the Senate, and then you get a tweet from someone else, not even not even the leader of your party in this case, but even if it had been, he's not in the House, he's not in the Senate. No deal was made with him. And you clearly had a go-ahead, because don't believe that Mike Johnson would have said okay to this deal if he did not have a go-ahead from Donald Trump. This was Elon Musk and Donald Trump being too impotent to then say, hey, Elon, back off. Elon got out in front, and that's what we have to deal with. We're going to have a very wealthy person who knows he can embarrass the president of the United States. He can get out in front of the president of the United States, and he can blow up a deal in Washington. That's what happened. That's what's going to happen more, and that is incredibly concerning for the state of our democracy. The American people have made a gross mistake. So when we say some of you are a little stupid, that's because we knew this was going to happen. We told you, and you chose to do it differently. But everyone on this call will be fine.
Well, and again, hey, Greg, that's what they wanted. They wanted this. They voted for it. They wanted it. and you're going to get exactly what you voted for. And here's the deal. When the new Congress is sworn in, the Republicans' margin is going to be even smaller. It's even smaller. And so if I'm, like I keep saying, if I'm Congressman Jeffries, I'm sitting there keeping my caucus at bay, and I'm like, let them do all the work. Don't come look at us. Y'all got the majority. Go to work.
It's going to be tough, Roland. I mean, Musk, I think according to reports, the first tweet was about 4:15 Wednesday morning. So he's another up all night guy. This bill must not pass. And then he starts with the disinformation. And again, when we finally have an honest, if there's still United States, honest conversation about the election, the two major issues that are going to emerge will be voter suppression and disinformation. That's how they were able to steal this thing in the first place, to get in this position. But then he's tweeting out that in the bill is $3 billion for Washington, D.C. to purchase the football stadium site. It's a lie. It's pure disinformation. Now, that has pissed off some of these white nationalists in Congress who are fiscal hawks, like Congressman Thompson out of Pennsylvania. You know, he's like, wait a minute, this guy doesn't have a voting card. And so, as you say, this already razor-thin majority, which is going to get smaller when they reach in and dip in for these administrative appointments, executive branch appointments, you know, you're going to see, I mean, hell, it's bad enough to have the Nut Caucus over there, the Andy Biggs and all them, the so-called Freedom Caucus, reminiscent of when this thing became an issue in the first place. The debt ceiling has been passed pro forma over 100 times since 1939, and it only became an issue in 1939 when the federal government clawed back some authority they had given to the Department of Treasury to do this. But it really became an issue when Newt Gingrich, who's still running around after he threw the rock and hit his damn hand in 1995 and 96 when they put that on Bill Clinton. So this is all part of the same white nationalist backlash to the civil rights and black power movement in the 1960s and 70s. The whole contract with America. This is when this thing became an issue in the first place. But they can't hold this coalition together. Now, will the Democrats sit on the sidelines? Who knows? Who knows? Because Jamie Raskin is now going to move over to Judiciary to chair the Judiciary Committee. And in his place, when they try to advance Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, they put the 74-year-old dude in. I mean, the Democrats still don't seem to be clear about what their political agenda is going to be. But at least in this moment, they should STFU, sit back and watch this thing implode. Because these Republicans, one thing about them, there are some of them who really don't like the idea of this open interference. And Musk is going to overplay his hand. He's shown he has no impulse control. He's not a genius. He's inherited a bunch of stuff. And now he is making his money literally out of our pockets, which is why they want to get rid of the debt ceiling in the first place. They can keep borrowing and then put it on our credit card. But, you know, some of these people on the Republican side really don't like this. And I doubt they are going to stand up and salute. While the majority of them will, not enough of them may do it in order for them to do anything.
Well, I am going to thoroughly watch the implosion take place. And it's going to happen, and I shall do it with glee.
Hi, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Fanbase is a free-to-download, free-to-use, next-generation social media platform that allows anyone to have followers and subscribers on the same page. Fanbase was built through investment dollars from equity crowdfunding from the Jobs Act. People just like you help build Fanbase. And we're looking for more people to help build Fanbase. We are currently raising $17 million in a Regulation A crowdfund on Start Engine. We've already crossed $2.1 million, but we're looking to raise more capital from people just like you that deserve the opportunity to invest in early stage startups without having to be accredited investors. So right now, I'd like you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase right now, today. And then use Fanbase to connect with friends, grow your audience, and be you without limits.
All right, Donald Trump plans to nominate Herschel Walker to be his pick to be ambassador to the United Nations. Let's see. What's Herschel's qualifications? Well, he's a former NFL player. He won the Heisman Trophy, and he got crushed for saying stupid stuff when he ran for the United States Senate, and just has personal scandals and on and on and on. Really, as ambassador, he's going to manage the United States relationship with the Bahamas. Scott, do you think he can spell Bahamas?
I don't think so, but it may not be a heavy lift for him. But I still don't understand Herschel Thomas when he speaks. So my Bahamian
man, you can't understand Herschel Walker. Scott, really? You can't. Yeah. All they're gonna say is MAGA, 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 MAGA.
I can't understand you either. So, you got to understand somebody to even converse with them or engage them. And I know I talk for a living, but you got to be able to speak the Queen's English. Even if you got a Southern drawl, it's okay. And I can never understand Herschel Walker. The other thing is this, you got to get through confirmation hearings. And I'm not convinced that he's going to get any Democratic support, but he may lose some senators too, because they can't understand him. Not so much that they don't really like him, but he certainly didn't qualify. And he didn't give the administration a whole bunch of money either. So this is really an unusual appointment. I don't know whether he's a disruptor or not, but if they give him some speech lessons, he might be okay. He might be.
First of all, Julian, you know damn well the Bahamians going to be like, y'all sending us this dumb ass.
Yeah. Roland, this shows us how little the incoming president values. Right. Why would you send this knucklehead who's a multiple-time woman abuser who not he can't even speak the pauper's English. It's not the Queen's English. I mean, and he's just a totally odious human being. And as you said, he didn't give the orange man that much money. But you know what? As we've seen these appointments come in, what we've seen is the overwhelming whiteness of the people that the orange man has lifted up. And so this gives him his, I believe, DE, but there's his diversity pick right there, y'all. That's what that is. And it's going to be very interesting. Our relationship with the Bahamas is important for many, many reasons, including the shared ocean, all the ocean stuff that's going on. As we look at climate change, which, of course, the Republicans don't believe in. And so you think this person who can't basically, like you said, spell Bahamas, can manage those complicated relationships? I don't think so. I mean, the only good news is that most of these embassies have staff who work for the State Department, and they don't tend to change them like they change ambassadors with an election. Some of those people will be long-term staff members who have relationships, and that will be the only saving grace. I think that's going to be the saving grace with many of the ambassadorial appointments. Less so, I think, because of Project 2025 with some of the cabinet appointments. So they will turn over people there. But this is just a joke. I mean, this is like, okay, we lost the election. We kind of bummed out about it. Christmas is coming. But this is like our intermission amusement. Every time they nominate somebody, we all get an opportunity to collectively crack up. And this is no different than that. I just, I get up in the morning, look at the news, and just start shaking my head. I'm going to throw my neck out pretty soon with some of this stuff. It's hilarious, but it's also very sad.
Well, that boy just dumb.
That part.
I mean, he just dumb. I mean, just dumb. I could not even imagine if Herschel Walker's people said you have a 10-minute interview with him, I would try to figure out what I'm gonna do with the other 8. I'm just saying. Got somebody sitting probably Roland going after low-hanging fruit Herschel Walker. No, fool. No sports actuary filtered, fool. That's who he's nominated to be an ambassador. So, yeah, I'm going to talk about his bumbling, stumbling ass all day, every day, because he's stupid. That's who he is.
On the first day of Christmas, Herschel made us see his IQ is -3. On the second day of Christmas, Herschel made us see 2 abortions and his IQ is -3. On the third day of Christmas, Herschel Walker made us see 3 death threats, 2 abortions, and his IQ is -3. On the fourth day of Christmas, Herschel made us see 4 kids ignored, 3 death threats, 2 abortions, and his IQ is -3. On the fifth day of Christmas, Herschel made us see 5 impersonating. 4 kids ignored, 3 death threats, 2 abortions, and his IQ is -3. On the sixth day of Christmas, Herschel made us see 6 years in high school, 5 impersonating. 4 kids ignored, 3 death threats, 2 abortions, and his IQ is -3. On the seventh day of Christmas, Herschel made us see 7 days of shucking, 6 years in high school, 5 impersonating. 4 kids ignored, 3 death threats, 2 abortions, and his IQ is -3. On the 8th day of Christmas, Herschel made us see 8 no concussion, 7 days of shucking, 6 years in high school, 5 impersonating. 4 kids ignored, 3 death threats, 2 abortions, and his IQ is -3. On the 9th day of Christmas, Herschel made us see 9 pants on fire, 8 no concussion, 7 days of shucking, 6 years in high school, 5 impersonating. 4 kids ignored, 3 death threats, 2 abortions, and his IQ is -3. On the 10th day of Christmas, Herschel made us see 10 foot 10, he's lying, 9 pants on fire, 8 no concussion, 7 days of shucking, 6 years in high school, 5 impersonating. 4 kids ignored, 3 death threats, 2 abortions, and his IQ is -3. On the 11th day of Christmas, Herschel made us see $11 haircut, 10 for 10, he's lying, 9 pants on fire, 8 no concussion, 7 days of shucking, 6 years in high school, 5 impersonating. 4 kids ignored, 3 death threats, 2 abortions, and his IQ is -3. On the 12th day of Christmas, Herschel made us see 12 months on Trump's nuts, $11 haircut, 10 for 10, he's lying, 9 pants on fire, 8 no concussion, 7 days of shucking, 6 years in high school, 5 impersonating. 4 kids ignored, 3 death threats, 2 abortions, and his IQ is -3.
Hi, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Fanbase is a free-to-download, free-to-use, next-generation social media platform that allows anyone to have followers and subscribers on the same page. Fanbase was built through investment dollars from equity crowdfunding from the Jobs Act. People just like you help build Fanbase, and we're looking for more people to help build Fanbase. We are currently raising $17 million in a Regulation A crowdfund on Start Engine. We've already crossed $2.1 million, but we're looking to raise more capital from people just like you that deserve the opportunity to invest in early stage startups without having to be accredited investors. So right now, I'd like you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase right now, today. And then use Fanbase to connect with friends, grow your audience, and be you without limits.
A white woman is definitely not on a Santa's good list after her racist tirade against an Amazon delivery driver. Going off of Mustafa's point, look at how mad the woman they're calling Christmas Karen got because she didn't have the correct information to receive her package.
You don't have an Amazon. You want to let me speak? I can't give you the package because you didn't give me the code for
I gave you the code that they gave me when I ordered my
and neither
perfume.
of them worked.
Okay, so that's not my problem. You've taken money out of my account.
I'm not taking your money. A
You've
DSP
collected
system.
my money.
It's a third party.
You've collected my money.
I didn't take your money. I don't get any of your money.
It went right there.
I don't
It came
understand
right
what
out of
you're
my
saying.
bank. Package.
I can't.
I'm calling the fucking cops right now.
You're calling the cops?
Yeah.
I'll wait here for you. You're going to tell them I'm not giving your package, so you're going to call the cops on me.
I am.
There's no reason I would need to take this back. I don't want to keep this in the van. I would give this to you if I could.
Bullshit!
Why would I not give this to
You
you?
took the money out of my fucking account.
I don't
already.
have your money.
I ordered it off of Amazon. The company
Yeah,
has
I
already
don't
taken my
work
money
for Amazon,
twice.
so I don't take any of that money. I don't know
Why
why
do you have an Amazon shirt?
Tell Amazon that. Very Christmassy route, and it sounds like this is taking up a lot of my time.
I'll take your whole fucking day. Go what I can. I don't give a shit. Take a fucking picture, you scumbag piece of shit.
A video. I don't know why you're so.
Oh God. Settle down.
I don't know why she's so upset. I can't give her.
I want
the
my
package.
fucking package. The money's come out of my fucking account already.
Okay.
Well, we'll
I'll sit here and wait for the cops and tell them. Please tell them exactly what this is for. I can't give you the package because you don't have the code to give me it.
Of course, it's my Christmas gift to her, so I should be upset. You know what I mean?
I just left my people's house unlocked to come home because he couldn't wait 2 minutes. Now you're already 15 minutes behind.
Because I'm working. Are you? I'm working my job right now.
I've already gotten paid.
Yeah. Did you call the cops yet, or are you just threatening me? Are you not going to do it because you know that that's a pretty stupid idea? You understand that calling cops wouldn't do anything?
They're not going to do anything, yeah.
That's the thing. It sounds like you're just wasting people's time. I wish I could have delivered this. I don't like returning packages, but now I'm stuck in the situation because a very hostile customer that I'm going to have to report.
I am very hostile.
Yeah.
And I will call Amazon.
You're very hostile?
Yes, I am.
You're admitting
absolutely.
that. Are you going to hit me? Are you going to hit me for not giving your package?
No, but
you
get
said
off
you're
my
hostile,
fucking
though.
property now.
Okay.
Because I don't like niggers on my property.
Hey, shut up.
Okay, there it is. Really? I've been waiting for that. Good. Glad you could tell. All right, have a good one.
Joe, where's the holiday spirit? Where's the spirit, Joe?
I don't know if I should say this, but we're a small group, right? You know, we all family here. You know, even as an attorney, I see this pop up sometimes with certain attorneys on the other side, and I've seen it pop up lately with some women, Caucasian women. Like there's sometimes, not all the time, most of the people that I deal with, but when I have problems with attorneys, and it takes a lot because you're cordial, you're trying to do the things you need to do, you're being professional, just like this brother sounds like that's working his Amazon job, just on his grind, doing what he's got to do. Now you've got this entitled person that wants what she wants, and that could be any of us, right? I'm with you that, but once she took it to that place, basically, so now you can go back to the beginning of the story and get what she saw at the very beginning. All this was a brother that could just give, all he could do for her was give her that thing and get off the property. That's it. Other than that, that's all she could do. That's all he could do for her. Fortunately, he kept his cool, did the things he needed to do, because see, if he had done something to her, listen, we all about peace and all of this other stuff. But sometimes when stuff flies off the handle, there might not be excuses for it, but there are reasons. You understand? And so what you really don't do, you don't want to poke bears. You don't want to get at people that are actually more powerful than you or stronger in a moment, or they can't control their anger. You know what I mean? I'm an attorney. I'm an officer of the court. I'm all of these titles and all these stuff, but I act right because I know that I will get taxed if I don't act right more than even somebody like her. You know what I mean? So if she had to think of it that way, she could have been on the phone with Amazon, done 5 or 6 things, or maybe even just got the code right at the jump go. Okay. It didn't have to be all this, but she's lucky because if she was dealing with a sister, she might ended up being on the ground.
Hello.
Well, Sister Malvo.
I got a can of whip ass for folks like her. A big old can, like the supersized can. I mean, I have to commend the brother for his composure. He didn't go off on her. He didn't yell at her. You know, he basically maintained his cool. But, you know, she could have crossed the wrong one. Let that not happen over here at 1318. It would be on.
That's right. That's right.
But let me say this, though. It's interesting. I'm trying so hard to boycott Amazon. I'm trying so hard because I'm so angry with Jeff Bezos for the non-endorsement. But boycotting Amazon is like, for me, because I use it so often, boycotting water. I mean, you really need it. Right. But I'm gonna get there. I promise. I'm trying to do DoorDash or something like that. But they have often made it challenging, depending on when and where and how. They send you this code on Wednesday for the package that comes on Friday. Unless you saved it in your phone, you don't have the code. So she probably didn't have the code, and she was frustrated because she didn't get her package. But that is no excuse. And as soon as she behaved like a racist before she dropped the N-word bomb. She behaved like an entitled piece of you-know-what before she dropped the N-word bomb. She was very confrontive, and she can say, oh, yes, I'm angry. Oh, well, get over yourself. Everybody's angry when they don't get their stuff on time. But Amazon might want to tweak their delivery process some kind of way. And we're warning to all of us, when they send you those codes, they're not playing. They do mean for you to use the code, and if you don't have the code, you won't get your package. She really was cruising for a bruising, and I wish she had encountered one of my siblings. See, y'all know me as the loud, crazy one, but I'm also little. I'm relatively little. My sister's, one of them weighs 100 pounds more than me. You do not want to fool with her. You know, You just do not want to fool with her. And it wouldn't even be a conversation, just, that's it. White women need to check themselves, and it really is. The Karen word works because these white women have decided that they don't have to have any respect for Black people. And they have been goaded by the incoming administration, which also has no respect for us. And so we have a lot of work to do to make sure these people who want to call themselves allies when it's convenient. No, y'all not our allies. Y'all just PWT. Even when we ain't P, still WT.
And Mustafa, how do you see that? I mean, we're going into 2025. I feel like this stuff's going to be happening more and more people are emboldened. I'm also concerned, kind of going off of what Joe said, that some of us might be more emboldened to retaliate in ways that we probably shouldn't because it never works out in our favor. But some people say enough is enough.
Well, we always have to be smart about the decisions that we make, even in those heated moments, because there are ramifications, right? And we understand that. There's a long history of that. We also understand that, as you said, there are a group of folks who feel emboldened. They feel emboldened because of not only the election, but also probably over the last, decade or so of all kinds of egregious things happening to our community, and it never really being addressed in the fullness and the fashion. Now, we can take it back much further than that, but I'm just watching the trends that go by. My grandmother used to say not to suffer fools gladly. And I always remember that because I just don't put up with foolishness. There's ways of dealing with it. There are ways of confronting it head on. There's also times when you need to just remove yourself from situations so that you can continue to do the things that you need to do. But we also got to just remember that, it was interesting how this closed out, and not just the word that she used, but for her family member to not also check her, says that this is not a word that is new to them. It is probably something that is utilized from time to time at a minimum. So we just got to be mindful of the moment that we find ourselves in, and also how we want to react and how we do or do not want to give people power by how we, handle different types of situations. So, We just got to rally around and make sure that as we're moving forward, that we understand the dynamics that 2025 and beyond will bring.
Hi, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Fanbase is a free to download, free to use, next generation social media platform that allows anyone to have followers and subscribers on the same page. Fanbase was built through investment dollars from equity crowdfunding from the Jobs Act. People just like you help build Fanbase, and we're looking for more people to help build Fanbase. We are currently raising $17 million in a Regulation 8 crowdfund on Start Engine. We've already crossed $2.1 million, but we're looking to raise more capital from people just like you that deserve the opportunity to invest in early stage startups without having to be accredited investors. So right now, I'd like you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase right now, today. And then use Fanbase to connect with friends, grow your audience, and be you without limits.